fiscal capacity or the capacity to raise revenues is lacking at the local level. I'll draw in evidence from Tanzania, and I'll kind of speak a little bit about why that's the case, why I'm using Tanzania as a case study. So first of all, Tanzania is a good case for to kind of represent how the country can actually have a weak capacity to raise revenues at the local level. So this is exactly the kind of case that I will be kind of applying my theory to. But we also have a somewhat reliable data on local spending and local revenues, which I need to empirically test this relationship, which is good. Now, I will talk a little bit about why we care about this question. So obviously, we have this amazing, ambitious 17 SDGs, but financing it is a struggle, and we cannot rely on traditional donors or new emerging donors to actually finance all the efforts to achieve those ambitious goals. So we need to somehow institutionally strengthen these low and middle income countries to really raise their own finance, to actually kind of undertake their own development initiatives. So taxation is obviously one kind of source of revenue that they could tap. However, fact of the matter is that local revenues, the local governments, the amount of revenues that the local governments raise only account for 1% of GDP in Africa, which kind of makes Africa lower than the average for other regions, developing regions, which is 5%. And just looking at the select countries in Africa, actually local governments rely excessively on intergovernmental transfers to finance their budget. So just looking at some of the countries that I listed here, Liberia, for instance, 99% of the local budgets are actually financed by the grants and loans that they take out from the central government. So take Tanzania as an example. It's kind of hard to see, but 91% roughly of the local budgets are actually financed through the intergovernmental transfers. And just kind of looking at the distribution here, the Tanzania is like I would say the local governments kind of rely heavily on the intergovernmental transfers, but that's the case for many other countries in the region. So in a sense, I'm using Tanzania as like a representative case in the region. And then, so we care about this because the local taxation in general, the amount of revenues that the central government or local governments can actually raise, is highly correlated with various indicators of people. Take